Yeah, I'm taking a break from dating. But yeah, I'm taking a big pause from dating. I kind of went over it in the first part, but I don't think I'll include that because my camera died. But I'm 25. Like I said, I've dated seriously in the past. But I want to take a break from dating because I really want to focus on myself, and that's going to look different for everyone. In terms of me, that more so looks like the idea of conserving all of my energy towards becoming the best version of me that I can. Not to say that you can't do that while dating, but I know for me specifically, when you're dating, or when I've dated in the past, you have to utilize and give some of your energy to that person or the people that you're dating. And it's not to say that that's a bad thing, but it is to say that I think that that energy could be better utilized. But in a romantic sense, I do find that I've given energy in ways that I feel like if I conserve that energy, I could be a different version of myself now. I definitely don't take back like my past experiences and stuff like that, because they've developed me and shaped me into who I am now. But being the age that I am, I kind of want to take a break because this is a more serious age, and rather than, not to say that it's easy to be in a relationship, but I do think that it's kind of easy to get into relationships and to like kind of just stay there, and you can get comfortable with people. And not to say that that's like a bad thing, but with what I want for my life, I want to be uncomfortable. I want to know exactly, like, have a clear idea as to who I am as an individual. And I feel as though when I'm in relationships, it's not that I lose myself entirely, but I do get comfortable within those relationships, and I don't focus as intentionally as I do when I'm not in relationships, in terms of like my goals and like my interests and stuff like that. I do like work on myself, but I like take the other person into consideration in terms of like their goals and their interests, and like being a support system for them and stuff like that. So that's more so what I mean by taking a break from relationships. Not to say that any of that is wrong or like bad or anything like that or unenjoyable, but before I do that again with anyone, I really want to have a clearer understanding as to who I am, and like making sure that I'm on track to reach and attain my goals. So yeah, I'm taking a break from dating at 25, when this is like the height of dating. I feel I'm going to continue dating myself, but not dating other people, as I continue to get to know myself. The second thing that I wanted to go over, I mentioned that in the first part, but I don't think that's included in this clip because my camera died. But I have 4 things that I'm going over. The first was dating. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was, or are children, or the idea of having kids. I'm 25. You're gonna hear me say that like a million times in this video, but it's just like to put that in the forefront so you know like why I am approaching the topics the way that I am. But yeah, so when it comes to kids, there are people having kids at my age. People are having kids younger than me, older of course, but 25 is like an age where a lot of people are starting to have kids. People are definitely like getting engaged, getting married and stuff like that. Congrats to them. But personally, I don't really know if I want to have kids in general. Like, I definitely don't want kids right now, but I don't know if I want to have them in general. I love kids, so it's nothing against kids at all, but when I think of kids, I think about how much time and energy and resources goes into raising kids well, especially, and just like they're your priority. Once you have them, you're no longer as much of a priority as they are, which should definitely be the case once they're here. But in terms of having kids now, it's definitely a no for me on my end, just with like what I want to do with my time in my life. I have a lot of goals that I guess you could have kids and like attain those goals, but it would be a lot easier for me to attain those goals without having kids. And honestly, I don't want the responsibility of having kids at the age that I am, just because I'm trying to like lessen the amount of responsibility that I have until I can, if that makes sense. Like if I'm the thing that I am most responsible for at this age, I want that to be my main responsibility for a while, especially like as I finish school and like get into my career and figure out what I want to do in that regard. And even like with me as a person, I feel as though this being in my early to mid 20s is kind of like being an adult in charge of myself. I mean, I am, but when I was younger and stuff like that, I had my mom and stuff like that who was responsible for me, whereas now I'm responsible for myself more than I ever was in my life. And I'm learning to navigate what that looks like, and also like what I want it to look like. I'm trying to be very intentional with the life that I'm creating for myself, and who's to say if I have kids in the future, that life for them as well. So in terms of not having kids right now, but not having kids in general, I'll speak more specifically for right now because I may have kids in the future. I don't know. But yeah, I'm trying to be as intentional as I am, or I can be, with life right now, which is why I'm not trying to have kids anytime soon. Just with like how I want to prioritize and focus my time on reaching my goals and just like experiencing life and figuring out the type of life that I want to live now and in the future. So yeah, also the last thing, kids are expensive. Like life in general right now is expensive for everyone, just like being responsible for yourself. I have a cat as well. I've had my cat since I was 12 though, so we've like lived life together up to this point. But kids are very expensive. I'm expensive, especially with like the lifestyle that I would like to live. And if I have kids, the lifestyle I would like for them, I have to have a lot of essentially money. But yeah, so I am gonna take a long pause with the idea of children. I know as of right now it's a no, but yeah, kids are expensive. They're lovely. I love kids, but I'm not ready for them for my own. But yeah, the next thing that I wanted to go over was school. So I'm going back to school at 25. I started school a bit like a few years later than my peers because right after high school I solo traveled for a bit until the pandemic hit, and then I started school in person, and then I took a few breaks and pauses since starting, but I'm going back now at 25 to finish up my undergraduate, which I'm super duper excited for. When I first started school, I had an idea as to like what I wanted to study, but I wasn't really sure in terms of like where that would lead to career wise, whereas now I have a clear understanding as to like what it is that I want to study and the type of career that I want to result from my studies. So I feel a lot more focused and motivated, whereas before I didn't have a clear idea as to what it is I wanted to study or do, whereas now I feel a lot more centered with my thoughts. So I'm feeling really good and really excited about going back to school. At first I did feel a bit left behind, or like behind my peers, whereas now I realize that like everyone's timeline is different and I'm on the right path for my own. But yeah, so don't feel left out or like behind if your schooling career looks different, or if you like choose not to go to school, that's totally okay as well. Don't feel like you need to go to school. School isn't for everyone, but if you do like go to school and you take breaks and stuff like that, but then come back to it, or you don't, whatever works for you works for you. But don't feel pressured. I feel like society pressures us a lot, especially when it comes to school. School is definitely a great opportunity to be able to experience, but everyone's path looks different, so don't compare yours to someone else's. But yes, so that was school. And then the last thing that I wanted to go over was exploring what kind of life I actually want rather than the one that just happens to come along. I kind of mentioned earlier, but I'm trying to be as intentional as possible in terms of the life that I'm creating for myself. That looks like, for me, not dating at the moment, definitely not having kids, not committing to a serious relationship, finishing and going back to school, and then developing myself within the career field that it is that I'm going after. I feel like life can just happen to a lot of us if we aren't as intentional as we can be. I feel as though we can get like swept away with what's just happening to us and around us. But I feel as though society has it laid out that way. That way you don't really have to think too much. Like if you just follow the traditional path of going to school, graduating, getting a job right out of college, getting married, having kids, going to their like ballet recitals, soccer practices, their plays, their performances, their dances. Then they get old, then you have to do the whole helping them with college, and then you're looking forward to your retirement and stuff like that. Not to say that that's like a bad life to live, but society, or a lot of our societies have it so that we don't really have to think too much. We can just follow these paths that a lot of people before us have taken, and they're like strong and true to the sense that they're still like applicable today. Like you could still follow these paths and live a somewhat successful life, or a successful life, not to take away from those who do the traditional path or take the traditional paths. But I feel as though a lot of us can create these lives that we've never even thought possible if we were more intentional with the choices that we're making. And these choices sometimes are more difficult to make because not a lot of people are choosing to go about living their lives in this way. If it means not dating at the peak age of dating, or like not having kids when everyone else is having kids, or finishing school later, these opportunities and these different timelines are going to make your life look different than those around you. But that's not to say that's a bad thing, and it's not to take away from their life or like what their life looks like, but it's just to say that we really do have more control over our lives than I think we give ourselves credit for. And if it means taking a bit longer to get there, don't feel as though you're failing in any type of way because your life doesn't look as good as those around you when they've taken the more traditional path. It's just to say you have to maybe work a little bit harder than the other people, because this way isn't like 1, 2, 3, 4 in order to reach success the way the traditional path is 1, 2, 3, 4. This way may be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to look a bit different. It's going to feel different. You're going to be a bit lost and confused, and you're going to have less people to go to and talk to because there aren't that many people doing things the way that you've done them or you're choosing to. If you're surrounded by everyone taking the more traditional path, you're going to get the questions like, oh, like when are you going to have kids? Are you dating someone? When was your last relationship? Why haven't you finished school by now? When are you going to get like a more traditional job? That you're going to get those types of questions. But it's not to say like to get angry at those people or to even feel as though you need to fully educate them as to what it is that you're doing or why you're doing things the way that you are, because that's not necessarily your place either if you don't want to. But it's just to say like, know that you may face those questions, but also like back yourself to the point where you're just like, yeah, I know, or no, I'm not really focused on that right now, maybe down the line, but I'm focused on this and that, or I'm focused on my career that's a bit untraditional, but like I have hope, I have faith. But yeah, don't feel like just because your path looks different, you're behind everyone else. Like your path just may take a bit longer or is going to look very unconventional compared to the norm. So don't be afraid. Don't feel too stressed. Don't feel too anxious. I know up to this point, I've felt a lot of stress and anxiety in terms of how my life looks, but then how it will also look in terms of like the future. And honestly, if every year of my life where I thought I would be hasn't been where I ended up. And that's not to say that I've like it's been bad. It's just like you really don't know what's in store for you. Like right now, I moved back to New York, whereas a year ago, I was on the complete opposite side of the country, not knowing when I would move, where I would move to, where I would be, what I would be doing. And now, a year later, I got into several schools in the city. I am living in the city. I am working a job that I didn't even think was a possibility back then, but I'm able to work now. So like, you never know what's going to happen or what life will, like, what life has in store for you. So be patient, wait, don't stress, don't be too anxious and stuff like that. Everything has a way of working out. Sometimes you'll experience some like bumps along the road and stuff like that, but don't let it stop you or get stagnant or anything like that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any questions or like any topics that you would want to watch me talk about or go more in depth with, feel free to ask or leave comments down below. I love back and forth. I love talking and having conversations. So if you have anything to say, leave it down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.